The medical device maker Masimo has accused Apple of copying patented technology for measuring blood oxygen levels that they used in their smartwatch. Joining us now, Joe Kiani is the founder and chairman and CEO of Masimo, and it is great to have some time with you, Joe. And look, has Apple in any way turned to you, tried to be making any sort of, agreement, negotiate some sort of settlement here?
No, they haven't. Ever since 2013, when they contacted me and said, we're the platinum of non-invasive monitoring, they want us to go in, meet with them because they want to integrate our technology, we have not heard from them. Instead, they ended up recruiting 25 of my engineers, including our chief medical officer and CTO from a spin-off company. And this is not an accidental infringement. This is a deliberate taking of our intellectual property.
You spend millions to take on Apple. Is this because of your business, because of what you think ultimately you could win out in terms of them being forced to pay you for the use of your technology or to settle, or is this something bigger?
Well, first of all, I'm glad the world can now see we're the true inventors and creators of this technology. We want to actually let you know that by banning the Apple Watch with SpO2, really there's no issue, because Apple's internal documents that we saw in court showed that they knew their product wasn't good enough to be used medically, and they didn't even seek FDA clearance because of that. Their own testing showed they got 2 measurements a day on 37% of the people. That's it. We get over 70,000 measurements a day on everyone. And they pushed that anyway because, as their email showed, they thought in the chaos of COVID, this is their quotation, they could get market share away from Fitbit. So no, why we sued them? Because this is our intellectual property. We have our own product, I'm showing here. And we have been in pulse oximetry business for 35 years, not only now in the consumers, but hospitals. In fact, we just got FDA clearance for a product we call Stork, which is a baby monitor to help parents monitor their baby's pulse oximetry when they're not next to them.
Now, an Apple spokeswoman, Joe, has said that the company is working on submitting workarounds in the US to the customs agency, and that's, of course, in charge of actually approving changes to get a product back in the market. But do you think the product that you just showed us, your product, could take any market share here?
Absolutely. We are focusing from hospital to home right now with this product, but there's a consumer version of that product that we're going to be introducing here shortly. This is the Freedom Watch that has all of our biosensing capability that we have in these chips that we put on the back of these watches. And with our distribution channel, which is about 20,000 locations, with the near recent acquisition we made of Sound United, which is the owners of Bowers and Wilkins, then in the Marantz, we hope to pick a good market share for people that really care about pulse oximetry. People with chronic illnesses. About a third of the population that buys these watches have chronic illnesses, and they will benefit from a serious, accurate product.
Joe, ultimately, what could have been done to stop this? Obviously, Apple could have come to you and bought and licensed the technology. But when ultimately big tech companies or any technology companies takes talent, takes employees, well, that's kind of just the way in which business is done. What do you think, if anything, you could have done to stop your CTO, your chief medical officer, from leaving?
Well, first of all, not every company does this. Apple is the biggest company, the most powerful company. They could be an example of how to do things right and do things well. They didn't have to steal our people. We could have worked with them. But secondly, this whole ITC case, Apple could have not been even under their jurisdiction if they made these watches in the USA. The fact that they still haven't, I don't know, it says something about their relationship with China. This could have been averted for them. Now, ultimately, we're suing them in the California and Delaware courts for patent infringement. And if we went there, we'll get an injunction regardless where they manufactured. But this ITC case could have been averted by them by just making it here. And they've refused to do that. We make it here. We make all of our sensors in New Hampshire, hundreds of millions of LEDs and detectors. We bring them here to Irvine, and we do the final manufacturing. So why they can't make it here, I don't understand.
Would you settle, Joe?
The short answer is yes. despite their leadership doing some of the things they've done to us, and not just Masimo, but other smaller companies that they Sherlock or they do efficient infringement to, for betterment of people and our mutual shareholders, I put out the olive branch on one of these news programs that I would work with them to improve their product, or they can even put these chips behind their product. But they haven't called. It takes two to tango.
And it takes the right price point. What sort of dollar amount would be the right from a fiduciary duty and responsibility perspective from your part, Joe?
Well, they haven't even asked. We haven't, I mean, they don't know.
What would be your starting number? Say I'm Apple on the phone.
Oh, come on, I'm not negotiating with you on TV. No, there needs to be an honest dialogue. There needs to be an apology. These guys have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and instead of being embarrassed and doing the right thing, they're blaming everybody and they're fighting everybody. You know, in 2012, when they decided to make the watch, they decided the most important feature was pulse ox. But they couldn't do it. So they created a project called Rover to see who can. They found 50 companies, and in their own internal documents, they said there are two standout companies, Masimo and Circle Corp, both run by Joe Kiani. They went to Tim Cook and said we should buy them just to get Joe, let alone all that technology, because they called me the Steve Jobs of the healthcare industry. But Tim Cook said, no, you get the same result by smart recruiting. So what do? I was paying my people 90th percentile. It's not like I don't pay our people well. I believe in them. They began doubling their salaries and bonuses. Some of them, they gave millions of dollars in RSUs to get them. Some in unlabeled buildings, couple of blocks from me, for those who didn't want to move to Northern California.
Yeah.
This is not normal business.
We will put that to Apple. Thus far, of course, Apple have said that they're looking for a workaround. Could they fix this with software?
First of all, with software, I don't think that could work. It shouldn't, because our patents are not about the software. It's about the hardware with the software. But they could do a lot of things differently. Maybe it's time they think different, or maybe they act different.
What about the administration? Have they been in touch? Are they looking for different behavior?
Well, I believe so. You know, the administration has been critical of the top 4 tech companies, saying they're stepping on smaller rivals, and they're going to try to defend that. So I don't expect the administration to step in here. And every time Apple contacts them, I guess by law, they have to call us to get our response. So yes, we've been in contact with them, and we don't think they will intervene. I think their recent stunt to pull the products off the market a few days earlier than the ITC decided it should be pulled off the market, they're trying to get the public to force the Biden administration to do something they don't think they should do, but I don't think it's going to work.
Joe Kiani, it's fascinating talking to you. Please, you're not going to negotiate with me on TV, but when, or if you do indeed negotiate with Apple, you let us know, please.
How much for the watch? Is that what you want me to do?
Joe Kiani and Masimo, stay well. Thank you for your time today, the CEO there.